right, everybody, we're on time. Scott Miranda makes us go on time. So thank you all for coming. First of all, I want to thank everybody. I know you're busy. I know you got a big event going on here, so we appreciate you coming over here with us. I also want to thank Mr. Kress, Craig Kress, Chris Sebren, and staff here at USA Softball for welcoming us, for allowing us to be here to make this announcement. It is not lost on us that we're on hallowed ground here in this building that represents the history of the game and the players who built it, and also that we are only across the parking lot from the stadium that has become the dream for every little girl to be standing on that field in June. So we appreciate being welcomed into this facility. I will tell you a little bit about how the program's going to go. We're going to have brief remarks by the star-studded dais here. We'll do a Q&A. We'll take questions after that. And we'll have a photo op after that on the dais, and then we will be available for one-on-one interviews. All right, I am going to introduce the dais. I once saw Grandpa Jones introduce Garth Brooks at the Hall of Fame on the Grand Ole Opry, so it's kind of that moment for me right now. I'm Minnie Pearl, let's say, among these stars. So John Patricoff is our co-founder and CEO. Working with us to develop AUSL, sort of the Mount Rushmore here among the stars, is Kat Osterman, who's also on our advisory staff. You all know her, 3-time Olympic medalist, 4-time All-American, and inaugural AU softball champion, one of the things we're most proud of. Jess Mendoza, 2-time Olympian, 4-time All-American, ESPN broadcast analyst, and AU advisory board member. So I could go on and on. We had to limit it. And Natasha Watley, 2-time Olympic medalist, 4-time All-American. We are absolutely thrilled to have these folks with us that are going to help us develop this league, support the league, and keep it moving forward and on track. So very honored to be among them. I want to recognize, I mentioned Craig Kress. I want to recognize him. He's, of course, in the back of the room, taking a low profile back there, but CEO of USA Softball and a person who's done a lot to grow our sport in this vein and on the Olympic stage. And our defending AUX champion, Rachel Garcia, in the front row, who also 2020 Olympic medalist, 2-time Player of the Year, Honda Award, and the list goes on and on. So usually those are plurals. So we appreciate everyone being with us, grateful for that. On the road to the announcement, I will tell you just a brief history. In 2020, in August of 2020, amid COVID, we launched Athletes Unlimited Softball. Within 18 months, Athletes Unlimited had formed 4 women's professional sports leagues. Thank goodness. It's a movement that was unprecedented, and I will lay it out there that it will most likely be unequaled. As we look towards the future. 14 months, within 14 months of launching Athletes Unlimited Softball, we announced an expansion to softball that would be the shorter season, more intense season of AUX. So today we're excited to announce another expansion for Athletes Unlimited and AU Pro Softball and the sport of softball. So take a look.
Best players in the world.
All right, it's my pleasure to bring to the podium John Patricoff.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. I want to first off acknowledge Sherry Kemp. There's no one who's contributed more to Athletes Unlimited Softball than Sherry over these last 5 years. This journey for Jonathan and myself started when we cold called Sherry back in 2019. And since then, it's been a pleasure to work alongside you and your tireless commitment. Sherry is often behind the scenes, and it's nice to see you up here on this dais with me. I want to thank Craig Kress and everyone at USA Softball. Again, since we started Athletes Unlimited Softball back in 2019, Craig and his team have always been one phone call away, and we are very appreciative of them hosting us here, especially at such an important and busy time of year. And I also want to particularly thank the other members of this dais here who are forming this inaugural advisory board. Again, both Kat and Jess and Natasha all have been involved with Athletes Unlimited since the early days, since this was just an idea, and have been there and stood by us as we have built this league into what it has become. And now today, so excited to talk about the next chapter in the future of professional softball in the United States. Today, we are announcing the launch of Athletes Unlimited Softball League. This league will be a 30-game season that will run from late May through early July, that will then be followed by the AU Championship season in later that summer in July and August. We see this as the next step in the future of professional softball here in the United States and around the world. AUSL will be a traditional softball league format. We will launch with at least 4 teams, and we will play in 6 to 8 cities through a touring model before becoming a city-based league in 2026. AUSL will create more opportunities for professional players, will broadly increase the compensation pool available to players, but most importantly, as much as things will change, the core principle of Athletes Unlimited will remain the same, and that is the foundational partnership we have had with the athletes since day one. For those of you that know Athletes Unlimited, you know that we have prided ourselves on the relationship we've had with our player executive committees. That is a group of 5 players that works alongside myself and Sherry and Jonathan on every aspect of everything to do with Athletes Unlimited Softball. But that's not where it stops. The core principle of Athletes Unlimited has been to partner with the athletes, to uplift them both on and off the field, and to continue to work with them to make the future of professional softball what they want it to be alongside us as an organization. That will remain a steadfast commitment and core principle of AU. It will always be a partnership with the athletes, and as much, again, as things with AUSL usher in a new era, we are extremely excited about continuing that partnership and rooting everything we do in that partnership with the players. We're also excited today to be announcing a founding partnership with ESPN, who will be broadcasting at least 18 of the AUSL games on linear television. I think we all know that a core principle and core element of creating any professional softball league or any professional sports league in this country and in the world is that foundational access that can be created through linear broadcast. ESPN has been a great partner of Athletes Unlimited since 2020, and we are excited to extend and continue that partnership. And I want to thank Meg Aronowitz and Dan Margulis and the entire team at ESPN for their partnership and their continued commitment to the professional game. I also want to note that we continue to have incredible partners at AU, from Nike to Gatorade, Air National Guard, EY, and many more. This is very much about building a sustainable business and sustainable foundational league that can create opportunities for generations to come. And so we are proud today to be standing aside them, alongside the players, to build a future for the sport here in the United States. Again, as I said, the AUSL will be a traditional league that will begin play in 2025. It will replace our current AUX season. We will have a minimum of 4 teams in a 30-game season. The intention is to become a city-based league in 2026, but the 2025 season will be a touring league with us visiting 6 to 8 cities, which we are committed to going to Chicago and back to Wichita as well. Each team will have 15 players, and again, as I said, ESPN will be our founding broadcast partner. Once the AUSL concludes in July, We will lead into our championship season, which will continue to exist and continue to operate under the same current scoring model and individual leaderboard model that we've had. We are excited to be part of the continued growth of this sport. Anyone who's watching and who knows the sports landscape can see, whether you've known and watched softball for decades or whether you're new to the sport, to see the energy and excitement at all levels, from the youth to college level, of course culminating here in Oklahoma City this weekend. But at the professional level, we are excited to have built this foundation with AU. We're excited for where it is heading, and we are incredibly committed to growing together with the players a very vibrant, successful, and sustainable professional softball league for the future. Thank you very much.
All right, when we launched softball in 2020, we were putting together the roster, and we were doing that in the middle of COVID. When we realized we had a chance to get Kat Osterman, we were, of course, excited about that, excited to have her join the league, a new league that we were launching. And it should be no surprise. It was sort of the storybook ending when she became the champion of the very first Athletes Unlimited sport. So it's my honor to introduce Kat Osterman.
Good morning. Thank you guys all for being here and helping us celebrate this. And, you know, it would not do the story justice if I didn't start with the first time someone posed AU to me. I said, "You're out of your mind crazy. This sounds ridiculous." But I think anything that has been successful in history always sounded ludicrous to somebody, right? And so having been part of that first season, obviously amid COVID, was just such an experience for all of us that were there. I think it's allowed athletes at different points to fall back in love with the game in different ways. I never didn't love the game, but I think I left there that first season completely changed, even as 38, 39-year-old, than I would have probably earlier in my career. And so the way John and Jonathan have been able to build AU, and I think with the innovative model first, the creativity first, has got all the eyes. And now being able to add AUSL and now add the traditional model and not go traditional and then to innovated, it's going to allow fans now to be able to benefit from both, athletes now benefit from both. You know, as an athlete now with a 15-man roster that stays consistent, 30 games, just more opportunities. And as this grows, obviously it will give more athletes the chance as we get more teams to be part of AU and not just the 60 that get to be in the championship season. And then as we get bigger, those athletes get to compete for the opportunity to be in the championship season. So I think John and Jonathan have done a great job being innovative and figuring out ways to not just provide opportunities in our professional landscape, but actually reshape our professional landscape. And super excited to be on the advisory committee to help launch this and make it go and make it the best it can be. But there's definitely a need for a consistent traditional model in our sport. And I think AU has proven that they have the consistent backing and they have the consistency and the personnel to be able to run professional softball here in the United States, and I'm excited to see the league go. And I think, I believe in the vision, and I'm really excited about it. And I think this is it for our sport. And I've been a part of professional softball here in the United States for a long time, and so it's really exciting to have this launch and be part of it.
All right, thank you, Kat. The next speaker we have enjoyed as an outstanding player at the college level, pro level, Olympic level, and then someone who really took her personality and enthusiasm for the sport to the next level and transcended softball, crossed over to baseball and found a whole nother audience there. So Jess Mendoza was an original member of our advisory staff and someone who has been instrumental and important to us to have with us all along. So Jess Mendoza.
I first of all have been so excited with John and Jonathan and how we've discussed kind of where we need to take women's professional sports in general, let alone softball. And having called, this is my 18th Women's College World Series, we need a place for these women to play and to stay. And when we think about, 60 to 90 of them, if we're talking about 4 to 6 teams and traveling the country, there's nothing that gives me better joy than watching the athletes that we're building today and tomorrow and throughout the Women's College World Series. But then my heart breaks a little bit because not every single one of them can go on and play professionally can play on the national team and do it in a way that everyone knows where they're at and how to find them and how to cheer them on. We have some amazing women that have played. And so when I think about Athletes Unlimited in this next step, it's important not only because of the innovative stuff that we've already been doing the last few years, but the fact that we're now going to bring in more fan bases along with our stars. I think about Skylar Wallace right now for Florida, who will be a part of AU. And I mean, Oklahoma with Tiari Jennings and Jada Coleman and Kelly Maxwell and Kenzie Hansen. And you can tell I'm excited because I'm going to be talking about them in about 2 hours on air. But where will they be next week? And that is where this is absolutely necessary, and the support that you're giving, first of all, by being here, but also telling your friends and getting the word out, because we need to continue to grow this sport, not only with USA Softball and Craig Crest. And by the way, I'm so grateful that we are hand in hand with this, because it hasn't always been the case. And now that it is, I know that this sport is only going to continue to grow the way that it needs to.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. This next player, everybody knows, needs no introduction, but had an incredible career at UCLA as a collegiate athlete. And then one of the most important things that Natasha showed us was how long you could maintain a professional career if you were given the opportunity to do so. So she did that here. She also did that in Japan. And then I think one of her most notable accomplishments is the Natasha Watley Foundation that has become a really solid location for players to make a difference in young girls' lives, not just players. Maybe they're players and maybe they're other things, but I think Natasha has made a huge statement in organizing that and having it thrive as it has. So Natasha Watley.
Well, good morning, everybody. What a monumental day. I often share my story. I talk to a lot of young girls now, and I talk about being an Olympian and how proud and what an honor. But I always share, my favorite question was, what do you do for a living? I am a professional softball player, and like the coolest statement that I've ever been able to say. Of course, I had to piece that together I did play over in Japan for 8 seasons, and I also played in the NPF, but it was grueling. And whenever I would go over to Japan, I would be so obviously excited for the opportunity. I was able to extend my career past 2008 Olympics when we were taken out of the Olympics. But I was so jealous that they had it together and they had a thriving pro league. They were able to stay on top in the international game because they were able to play throughout the year. They had companies backing them. They had the support to train throughout the entire year. And it was something that just would drive me wild when I would come back home and that I would have to separate these. I almost lived 2 separate lives. So I just think about, too, all of the young ladies that we are seeing play here, that opportunity to extend their career, you don't realize how good you can get. I mean, I feel like I played my best softball. I didn't go over to Japan until I was 27. I retired when I was 35, so I was the old lady playing softball. But I just think about how cool, and I feel like I was one of the few. But how many of these young ladies that we're seeing, how much potential we can see them reach by being able to have that opportunity to extend their careers and play in a legit professional league. And, you know, with John and Jonathan, I've been so impressed from afar. I've been able to work with you guys through athlete causes and through the foundation and work with some of the athletes. But on this side, I'm just so excited to be able to share stories, share experiences, because I just think it's so important. If we can allow that athlete the ability to extend their careers, I think we're seeing it here. There's a market for it. There's a place for it. So just really excited to see what we can do in USA Softball again. I think just coming hand in hand, just being able to all work together. We want to leave this game much better than we found it, and we can only do that by connecting hands, working together. And so I think we have the right pieces together, and just excited to see what the future holds. So this is a monumental day. Excited.
Thank you, Natasha. All right, we're going to open it up for questions. So fire away. Sure, of course. Yes, sir.
Okay, Quick Run, Associated Press. You guys had quite a bit of success under your initial model. What makes this the time to expand?
So, thanks, Cliff. So So as Sherry said, we launched with the Athletes Unlimited softball in 2020, then added AUX only about 18 months later, so in 2022 was our first AUX season. And when we thought about this fall, what the landscape looked like, we realized that there really hasn't been a stable pro league, pro traditional league. We know players have always wanted more opportunities to play. We know fans have wanted it, but for us, it's really important to do things at the right time when we know we can deliver and when we are, certain of kind of the opportunity that exists. And so we've been measured, we've delivered on everything we've said we were going to do, and I think that we got to the right time this year where we said, now is the time, this void needs to be filled, and we should be the organization to fill it. And again, in partnership with the players, in partnership, of course, with Sherry, in partnership with the advisory board, we talked to a lot of people. Really, it's really important to be out there, understand what the landscape looks like, and this is also the great format to expand the number of opportunities that are going to be available. Our championship season is really designed very well for 60 players, but if you want to create more opportunities, a traditional format is going to lend itself to expansion over the future. And I think that that's our intention is to continue to grow the number of opportunities that are going to be available for players.
John, you mentioned Thomas Jones, Austin American Statesman. You mentioned Chicago and Wichita. Any other specific markets that you guys are eyeing right now? And if so, what makes those markets appealing?
Yeah, so no, we're very early in the planning around where we'll be playing and a number of the other details. Again, we've shared a number of things today, but we're going to be really working with the players. We'll be actively talking to cities. I think fundamentally, what's always been a big part of kind of the decisions about where we've played in the past, we've played in Chicago now. We just announced a 5-year extension to play in Rosemont, where we've played our championship season. But with AUX, we played in San Diego, played in Wichita, obviously playing in Wichita. A big piece is facilities, having proper facilities that can house professional softball players, where we can provide the right playing environment, the right training environment. It always starts with the athlete experience. And so I think as we talk and consider places we can play, that's going to be the first consideration. And then, of course, looking for vibrant softball markets with fan bases. But an engaged local community is going to be a big part of that. Again, everything, though, starts with the athlete experience.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kurt Bowles from Austin American Statesman. I was curious about player compensation. I assume we're not talking Shohei Ohtani money. So I was curious what kind of levels and range that would be and how that compares internationally, like Japan.
Yeah. So for players that will compete in both seasons, average compensation will be $45,000 up to $75,000. I think that's what we're sharing today. Again, a good amount of work will continue to get done with the players and the advisors here about exactly some of the elements of the compensation and how it's been structured. In our championship season in AUX to date, there's been a component of base compensation, and then there have been bonuses based on performance, individual performance, and team wins. We anticipate with the AUSL, a more traditional format, that it'll be more of it will be focused on base compensation, and then there'll be bonuses for how your team performs towards the end of the season. But the championship season will continue under the structure that it's been set up.
Can you address?
Yeah, I mean, going overseas, I feel like that's comparable. I mean, had that been an opportunity, I would have stayed home, But, obviously, yes, pitchers probably make a little bit more than that, but I think I think it's over time. But I think as a position player entry, I think that is something that would make athletes not have to travel overseas for sure.
The salaries would be competitive, you feel like?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Especially for the time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
even though it is something that's year-round as far as your training, you think about the amount of time that AUSL will be in season. I mean, you're talking about 2.5 months
Yeah, pretty much.
at
Yeah.
most.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that money for that amount of time.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And knowing that it'll continue to grow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to ask another one. I'm just curious, just on the growth of softball for you three ladies. It's such, we've seen what women's basketball is doing. The volleyball is another one that's just thriving,
Yeah.
as Kat knows. And I'm just curious, has softball been behind those sports? It's just not catching up. We know how popular it's been. Oklahoma's played a big part of that. But why is it softball's time now, and it seems like women's sports have just taken over?
I mean, I feel like it's been our time for a long time, to be honest. And, I think losing traction with the Olympics hurt our sport. I think back to 2004 and being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and that was kind of our peak.
It's right there, in case you need a reminder.
I haven't seen the new wall, so I've been staring at it.
Me
Just
too.
kind of
I'm
reflecting on so many of the memories, and it hurts my heart because of you see the space between 2008 and 2020, and so I would say that we were on pace to be exactly hand in hand with women's basketball and women's volleyball, the success that they've had, and now. That's why it's been so important to create something even separate, that's hand in hand with the national team, but also knowing that we have more women than just the 15 we're in USA, but we've got so many that are coming out of college, so many that are hitting their prime, by the way, in 28, 29 years old, and we need to tell their names and get their stories. Caitlin Clark, what she's doing, everyone's talking about that, but they're going to continue to follow her, when she actually hasn't even hit her peak yet. That's what gets so exciting.
Yeah, I think Jessica hit the nail on the head, and really I think 04 was kind of the pinnacle. We started to really get the height of softball, and then losing that traction definitely hurt. I think on top of it, if you listen to a lot of people, a lot of older fans, and it's our era that they say got them watching softball, and they've continued to watch, and would be remiss if we didn't say, ESPN covering as much now as they do has helped that. My freshman year, I think, was the first time the entire World Series was on TV, not just the semifinals and the finals. My junior year was the first time a preseason tournament out in Palm Springs was on TV. You had to wait till conference, usually. And so the constant growth of the coverage and delivering it to the fans has allowed it to grow. And now you can turn on, whether it's the TV or your app, and watch softball from day one. I mean, UCLA and Texas opened the season on day one of softball season, which we have I don't think we've ever had a game on ESPN that early. And so the coverage now is delivering it to the fans, and fans that have loved it for a long time are getting to watch it, and now we're getting so many new eyes, young eyes, all of it. And so I think that has definitely helped. And I think the growth as we continue with the professional realm, I mean, Sherry reminds me all the time, I mean, my best year was when I was 26 or 27. If we didn't have pro softball, that never would have happened. And so we're not allowing these athletes to get to their pinnacle. We were all very fortunate because we got to wear USA that happened. But there are athletes that don't get to see that happen. And so I think the growth is huge, but I do think we've always been there. It's just now that we have a lot more backing. It's in front of a lot more eyes, where before we were constantly fighting for the eyes. And now, obviously, not just with softball, but women's sports, eyes are on it.
I mean, I think they
Yeah.
nailed it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Shelley Carlin, D1 softball. This is probably for John, and I apologize if I missed this. The 4 to 6 teams, they're going to be owned by AU?
So,
And that's how you'll ensure the consistency of athlete experience?
Yeah, so we are announcing 4 teams will be in the 2025 season today. That's what we're committing to. But yes, it is going to be a single entity structure. Athletes Unlimited will own and operate those teams. We do plan to bring across, our profit sharing plan with the athletes as well. So there's being a lot of alignment. I want to remind people we have players, the board of directors of Athletes Unlimited. Obviously, the player executive committee has been involved in a very foundational way, as well as all the players. So we'll continue that structure, but it will be a single entity, and largely we're doing that just to ensure a certain level of quality and control in what happens on the field. And we're very excited and open to partnering and keeping our minds open about what will happen over time. One can expect that over time we'd move towards a more franchise-based model, but the goal, especially with the timeline of only us playing in 11 months from now, is to make sure we can control and deliver a high-quality product to the athletes and to the fans.
So just to follow up on that, you say it's a traditional model, so I'm assuming coaches, managers, unlike the AU model where you have facilitators, and so AU, the entity will hire those roles.
Correct.
I just want to add, I think it's important for our sport at the pro level to have the AU ownership of it, the AU running it. I think that's been some of the issue in the past, is the inconsistencies among teams within a pro league. And so I think that piece of this is what's going to make the pro softball landscape in this traditional model different than what has been experienced before.
It's almost going to be like a strict interview process, I imagine, with John and Jonathan. I'm just like, no, but it needs it. Like we need that. Like you can't just own a softball team because you have money. Like what is your investment ultimately? Like what are you giving to this sport? And honestly, how are you going to give the entire league? And so I love the fact that it is starting with only Athletes Unlimited, and if you want to own a team in this league, like you better come with like your best understanding of this sport and how to invest in this for a really, really long time. I like to throw out Major League Baseball, just, having them in the future would be amazing.
Any of you ladies want to be owners?
Yeah, I would love to.
I mean, if I hit the lottery, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right.